food, baseball food, pizza, wings, and beer. You know, you can bring your kids in and, you know, they can play pool or play the video games, or they can sit with you and watch TV too, because you got the TVs in every dining room. It's such a place that you can come in with your family and sit down. And again, it's family oriented because it's family owned. When you walk in here, it's like a TV show, Cheers. Everybody knows your name. And you can expect that from in here because everybody knows everybody else.
Sideline Guys back on the air. SidelineGuys.recordernews.com. Brought to you as always by our friends at Crystal Ristorante, 72 Lion Street in Amsterdam. Mark Robarge, Adam Schinder, back for another week and back to talk high school baseball. Finally got through all the snow, got through the cold weather, and it's my favorite time of year. My favorite sports season for the school kids has always been spring season, just because it is spring. And baseball is still my favorite high school sport.
Yeah, you can say you got through the cold weather. I was sitting out there Friday night at Shuttleworth Park like an Eskimo.
Well, that's why I took the afternoon game earlier. But it's been, you know, it's been interesting so far. I've been, and I know I speak for you on this, been really impressed by Bob Noto's Amsterdam baseball team.
Yeah, this team is, I would say the team 2 years ago, the 2009 team, probably had a little bit more talent at the top of that team. But this is the most balanced team I've seen since I've been here. They are 1-9 at the plate, a very, very disciplined team. And for a team that just seemed to hop all over everything last year and swing itself into so many bad counts and bad situations, through 3 games this year, they're 3-0. They beat Troy High yesterday to 5-2, get their first Big Ten win under their belts. And looking at their schedule, their next 4 games, 3 of 4 at home against Catholic Central, Bishop Gibbons, Schenectady, and Bishop McGinn. There's no reason this team can't be staring at the barrel of a 7-0 start.
Yeah, coming into the season, our big question that we shared in an earlier episode here was talking about the pitching staff. I mean, obviously we had no doubt that Kyle Rufer was going to be the ace of the staff, and it's probably going to be one of the top pitchers in the Big Ten this year, and he's proved that. I mean, he looked great in the opener against South Glens Falls, 3 hits, 7 strikeouts. Similarly looked good against Troy on Monday night. 1 run, 2 hits?
1 run, 2 hits, another 7 strikeouts in 5 innings. He only allowed 1 run in 9 innings this year.
But on top of that, we're seeing some other performances from the pitching staff that have looked really well. Ryan Brinkman with a 2-inning save yesterday. And so many others.
Yeah, Ryan Brinkman looked very good yesterday. A lot of running, 2 innings, picked up the save. He'll probably be their number 2 starter, but that's going to be kind of a patchwork thing. I got to see Friday night Brinkman worked a lot of deep counts against Broad Alton Perth. Has a very good curveball that got him out of a lot of jams. And they got a couple of sophomores making their varsity debuts on the hill that night. Dylan Angelo and Zach Dufell combined 3 innings. No runs. Yep. So they've got some depth in that pitching staff.
And I saw Jacob Reinhardt pitch against South High, and he looked really strong in his 2 innings of work. So I mean, it looks like they've got the arms. It's just a question of how Bob Noto is going to mix and match these to put together a full pitching staff.
Yeah, and there's no reason this team can't be a top 3 or 4 team in the Big Ten this year. Obviously, CBA and LaSalle are kind of the traditional powers.
As always.
Albany High has some ups and downs. They were down last year. They were up a couple of years before that.
We expected Troy to be a top team in the league this year as well, and Amsterdam looked good against that. So it looks like they have taken the step up to the upper echelon.
Yeah, it's going to be big to see what they do after they get through this next 4-game stretch, because their first 5 Big Ten games are, well, not easy. They're the second half of their Big Ten schedule. These are the winnable games. Right. They have CBA, LaSalle, and Albany all in the last 3 games of the first half and the last 3 games of the regular season.
So, meanwhile, heading up the valley, I know you got a chance to head up to Fort Plain on Monday to check out our friendly Hilltoppers as they took on Canajoharie, their friendly rivals, and missed out on seeing one of our favorite coaches.
Yeah, Craig Phillips. I get to Phillips Field yesterday. And I'm going through the Fort Plain lineup in their dugout, and I just happened to notice there's no Craig Phillips on hand. Talked to the assistant coaches, Dale Smith, Jeff Briggs, and I was informed rather discreetly that Coach Phillips had been ejected in Saturday's season opener when they lost 5-2 to Schoharie. And of course, New York rules, the coach gets ejected, sits 1 game. Anyone gets ejected, they sit 1 game.
So we'll be calling him Bobby Cox now.
But even without him, Dale Smith took over on the bench Monday against Canajoharie. And really, I mean, this was a very, very odd game. Jabin Weaver on the mound was not his normal self that won 8 games last year. He was inconsistent with his control, couldn't seem to spot his off-speed stuff. And then even though he was throwing his fastball well and ended up striking out 9, the Canajoharie hitters did a very good job just working deep counts against him. He ended up allowing 7 runs in 5 innings, but still picked up the win, thanks partially to his own work at the plate. He had 3 doubles. But the Hilltoppers came back, scored 7 runs in the bottom of the 5th inning, took the lead, and then an inning later, lightning struck, and they were done.
Literally lightning struck, and they were done. I know some people may see some concern in the fact that Jabin struggled in the first start, especially struggling with his command and his control, but, at the beginning of the season, that's always the last thing to come around when you're rounding into form is that command and that control. So let's see how he looks his next couple of starts before we start wondering what's going on. Because I know you and I have talked that he's probably one of the top pitchers in the WAC this season, probably one of the top players overall, as proven by his bat as well. Let's not jump to any conclusions yet. I know Fort Plain hasn't gotten off to their typical Sterling start, losing to Schoharie on Saturday, struggling against the Canajoharie team that even their coach Brent Watterson admits is certainly a shadow of its former self last year. But let's see what happens over a couple of weeks. I say the same thing. Amsterdam got off to a good start, but I think that they're also a team that's going to get better. Everybody's limited in the amount of outdoor practice. I said last week with Amsterdam that they hadn't even gotten outside until their first game. They didn't face live pitching until their first game. So anything you see now, you can expect, I would expect at least, to see that as the baseline from which teams will only get better.
Yeah, when you look at Jabin Weaver, even looking at him last year, he is a high pitch count guy. He's a power pitcher. I mean, I saw him, his Fort Plain debut last year, season opener against Sharon Springs. He struck out the first 10 guys he faced. And then he didn't struggle, but he did start to labor. He will if he starts to lose control, he's a guy who can go off the path a little bit. But he was able to, especially at the early points of the game, he was able to get some big outs when he needed to yesterday. And when you look at Canajoharie, that's a team that they won the Section 2 Class CC championship last year, and pretty much everybody is gone.
Yeah, pretty much. Joe Horning's about the only big name that's back from last year.
And they really struggled in their season opening loss to Galway, and Brent Watterson told me after the game yesterday that he was just very, very happy to see them score 8 runs against Fort Plain pitching. He very, very much liked. He said, "Now I feel like we're getting to. I'm looking forward to this week now."
Yeah.
And they've got some guys who can play.
Quickly want to get one quick story out there from Saratoga Catholic, who's probably going to be the top team in the WAC this year, as always. Speaking of Sharon Springs, they had their opener against Sharon Springs, and this McDonough kid, 20 of 21 outs recorded by strikeout, a perfect game. That's not a bad way to start your season.
Not a bad way. Billy McDonough is headed to Division I Sacred Heart. And how does Spa Catholic follow up what I believe was a 20-0 win?
Yep.
With a 24-0 win yesterday, Monday against Mayfield. Dylan Anderson throws a 3-hit shutout. This is a scary team, and they put up a lot of these numbers early in the season. You see it every year. But when it comes down to those games you'll get later in the year, Spa Catholic and Fort Plain, their standard 2 games, whenever Craig Phillips and Fonzie Lambert get together, it's fireworks.
And probably the most entertaining game you'll ever see. That's it.
That's it. Just want to make a quick mention. The Amsterdam lacrosse team. I'll be heading down there in just a couple of hours to Lynch Literacy Academy as they take on CBA in a Big Ten game. Got a chance to get my first look at them on Saturday, and it's a team that they need to gel. They got some high points. Some very good face-off work from Ricky Gonzalez and Aaron DeJesus. Very good performance in goal from Josh Soper, but it's a learning team.
And I had to be impressed simply by the performance against a team that has a strong reputation. Notre Dame out of Utica. I used to work up in Utica. I know a little bit about the program up there. They are traditionally a solid program. Obviously, not as strong as the programs about 30 miles to the west. But still, for the Utica area, Notre Dame is considered one of the top programs along with New Hartford and Whitesboro. So the fact that Amsterdam performed as well as they did against them really does give you some hope for this program.
And that'll do it for us. We'll be back in just a couple of days. For Mark, I'm Adam. We'll see you next time. We're the Sideline Guys. This is SidelineGuys.recordernews.com, and we're brought to you, as always, by Crystal Ristorante.